Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a tale that combines daring espionage with the birth of a nation's economic might. Imagine a time when entire empires were built not just on armies, but on closely guarded secrets. Secrets so valuable, they were literally outlawed from leaving the country. This isn't just about money, it's about power, innovation, and one man's audacious gamble that changed everything for a young United States. Our story begins in the heart of Britain's Industrial Revolution. In the late 1700s, Great Britain was the undisputed king of manufacturing. Their textile mills, powered by revolutionary machinery like Richard Arkwright's water frames, were churning out cotton faster and cheaper than anywhere else on Earth. This industrial advantage wasn't just a point of pride, it was the backbone of their global economic dominance. To protect this precious lead, Parliament passed strict laws, making it illegal for skilled mechanics or even machine designs to leave British soil. This was economic warfare by legislation. Our protagonist, Samuel Slater, was born into this world in 1768 in Derbyshire. From a young age, he showed a keen intellect and a fascination with machinery. At 14, he became an apprentice to Jedediah Strutt, a partner of Arkwright himself. For 7 years, Slater immersed himself in the inner workings of Strutt's mills, learning every gear, every lever, every crucial detail of the revolutionary textile machinery. He wasn't just working, he was absorbing a nation's most valuable secrets. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the newly independent United States faced a critical challenge. Having fought for political freedom, they were still economically dependent on Britain, particularly for finished goods. American leaders understood that true independence required self-sufficiency in manufacturing. They needed factories, but they lacked the expertise, and the British weren't about to share their blueprints. The young nation yearned for its own industrial revolution, a dream that seemed impossible to achieve. Slater, now 21 and with his apprenticeship complete, saw an opportunity. He heard that Americans were offering incentives for British textile expertise, but how could he get the knowledge across the ocean without being arrested for industrial espionage? The answer was simple, yet incredibly daring. He would carry it all in his head. He spent months meticulously memorizing the intricate designs of Arkwright's machines, a photographic memory his greatest asset. In 1789, Slater made his move. Disguising himself as a farm laborer, he boarded a ship bound for New York. The journey itself was fraught with danger. Any suspicion of his true identity or intentions would mean certain imprisonment or worse. The British authorities were vigilant, constantly searching for individuals attempting to export their nation's most precious intellectual property. Yet, Slater managed to evade detection, carrying the future of American industry in his mind alone. Upon arriving in New York, Slater found work, but it wasn't the industrial opportunity he sought. The fledgling American mills were rudimentary, mostly relying on hand-powered machines or incomplete designs. He was disappointed, but not deterred. He wrote to prominent American industrialists offering his expertise. His letter reached Moses Brown, a wealthy Quaker merchant in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, who had tried and failed to build a successful cotton spinning mill. Brown was intrigued. Brown invited Slater to Pawtucket. What he showed Slater was a small, experimental mill with crude, non-functional machinery. It was far from the sophisticated British factories Slater knew. Brown candidly admitted his struggles, asking Slater if he could build a successful mill based on the British models he claimed to know. It was a test, a moment of truth for Slater's audacious claims. He famously replied, "If I do not make as good yarn as they do in England, I will have nothing for my trouble." Slater immediately recognized the deficiencies. He informed Brown that the existing American machines were useless. He would have to build everything from scratch, relying entirely on his memorized blueprints. Brown, trusting Slater's confidence, agreed to fund the endeavor. This was a massive leap of faith, investing significant capital into a project based solely on one man's memory and claims of secret knowledge. It was a true bet on human ingenuity and a stolen idea. For months, Slater worked tirelessly. He directed local mechanics, painstakingly guiding them to build each component, each gear, each spindle, exactly as he remembered them from Arkwright's factories. He had to teach artisans how to craft parts they had never seen or imagined before.
It was a monumental task of reverse engineering from memory, translating abstract knowledge into tangible, working machinery, piece by painstaking piece, in a completely new environment.
Finally, on December 20th, 1790, in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, Slater's vision came to life. The mill, powered by the Blackstone River, roared into operation. Its machines, faithful reproductions of Arkwright's water frames, began spinning cotton into thread. It was America's first successful water-powered cotton spinning mill, a direct result of industrial espionage and sheer determination. This moment marked a pivotal turning point for the young United States. The success was immediate. Slater's mill produced high-quality cotton yarn, rivaling British imports. This wasn't just about making thread. It was about proving that America could manufacture its own goods, asserting its economic independence. The Pawtucket mill became a beacon of innovation, demonstrating the viability of the factory system on American soil. It laid the groundwork for a massive expansion of domestic manufacturing, reducing reliance on foreign supply chains. Slater didn't just bring machines, he brought a system. He understood that successful factories required more than just technology. He implemented the Slater system, which included strict factory discipline, division of labor, and, perhaps most controversially, the employment of entire families, including children. This system created the first factory towns, where the mill was the center of life, providing both work and housing. It was a new model for labor and community. While efficient, the Slater system also introduced new social dynamics. Children, some as young as 7, worked long hours, a common practice in both British and early American factories. This shift from agrarian family labor to factory wage labor had profound social consequences, leading to the early forms of industrial capitalism and its inherent challenges. The economic boon came with a social cost, fundamentally altering the fabric of family life. Slater's success quickly inspired others. He went on to establish several more mills, training a generation of American mechanics and entrepreneurs who then built their own. The secret had been broken, and the knowledge spread like wildfire. Within 2 decades, hundreds of mills dotted the New England landscape, transforming sleepy agricultural towns into bustling industrial centers. The Northeast was becoming the manufacturing heartland of the young nation.
This explosion of domestic manufacturing had enormous economic implications. It created new jobs, stimulated demand for raw cotton from the southern states, and reduced America's reliance on British imports, saving valuable capital. It fostered a sense of economic nationalism and self-reliance, vital for a young nation still finding its footing on the global stage. For the first time, Americans could truly envision a future where they controlled their own economic destiny. However, this industrial boom also led to increased tensions. The demand for cotton, fueled by New England mills, further entrenched slavery in the South, creating a tragic economic interdependence that would eventually tear the nation apart. The very machines that brought prosperity to one region inadvertently tightened the chains of bondage in another. Economic progress, as always, carried complex and often devastating moral consequences. Samuel Slater became a wealthy and influential man, dubbed the father of the American Industrial Revolution by President Andrew Jackson. He lived to see the fruits of his daring endeavor, a nation transformed from an agrarian backwater into an emerging industrial power. His story is a powerful testament to the impact one individual can have, even if that impact started with a controversial act of industrial espionage. By the time of his death in 1835, America's manufacturing capabilities had expanded exponentially. What began with one stolen secret in one Pawtucket mill had blossomed into a nationwide industrial complex. This growth wasn't just about economic numbers. It reshaped American society, driving urbanization, creating a new class of industrial workers, and setting the stage for future technological leaps. Slater's story is a compelling reminder that the pursuit of economic advantage often transcends conventional morality. His actions, illegal by British law, were celebrated as heroic in America. It highlights a recurring theme in economic history. Nations and companies constantly vie for technological supremacy, sometimes through legitimate means, sometimes through less conventional methods, always seeking that competitive edge. The textile industry he helped found would become a cornerstone of American economic power for over a century. It created immense wealth, driving further innovation in other sectors like transportation and finance. The lessons learned from scaling up these early factories informed future industrialists and entrepreneurs, shaping the very structure of American business and labor practices. His legacy is complex. While lauded for igniting American industry, his system also pioneered early forms of child labor and harsh factory conditions that would later be challenged by reformers. It's a stark reminder that economic progress, while often beneficial, frequently comes with significant social costs and requires constant ethical reevaluation. The factory bell brought prosperity, but also new forms of struggle. Ultimately, the tale of Samuel Slater underscores a fundamental truth about global economics. Innovation, whether indigenous or acquired, is the lifeblood of national power. Nations that can control their means of production and adapt new technologies are the ones that thrive. Britain's attempts to hoard its secrets ultimately failed against the relentless drive of human ambition and the universal desire for progress. His story demonstrates that technological transfer, even by unconventional means, can dramatically alter global economic landscapes. It reminds us that behind every grand economic shift, there are often daring individuals whose personal choices, for better or worse, steer the course of history. Samuel Slater's secret journey was more than just a personal adventure. It was an economic declaration of independence for a nascent nation. The Industrial Revolution in America, sparked by one man's memorized blueprints, forever changed how Americans worked, lived, and conceived of their national identity. It proved that sometimes the most valuable assets aren't gold or land, but knowledge itself and the courage to liberate it. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey into America's industrial origins. If you enjoyed this dive into economic history, be sure to subscribe for more untold stories.